leg race at Nielson's Lumberyard, and the joint was hopping, or should I say buzzing. Marg Meikle was there, and she's here to report. Belt sanders, you say, what?
Belt sanders? Well, they're power tools for sanding wood, and the belt part is a loop of sandpaper that goes around and around, and around and around really fast. It's a powerful thing. It's a very powerful tool. You've got to use two hands because it could get away from you, and in fact, that's how these characters came up with this idea. There's three buddies who thought this would be really fun, and one of them happens to own Nielson's Lumberyard, so they started very small a couple of years ago. Then last year, there were 19 belt sanders in the race, and 19. This year there were 32.
32.
So it's getting big. They borrowed bleachers this year. I think there were probably about 300 or 400 people in the bleachers. It was very funny.
Big event. So how do you race a belt sander?
You might well ask. Well, this year they've gotten very fancy with their track. It's about 30 feet long. It's made of 2x8, so they're 8-inch wide planks with little side railings.
Do they have little pieces of crumbled paint on them and stuff like that?
No, but it's getting a little worn looking already after just yesterday. There's about a foot in between the two tracks now. There used to be just sort of right up together. Now there's about a foot in between. They've put little Canadian and American flags down the middle. This is an international competition.
Nice, yeah.
And what they do is they plug the sanders into 200-foot extension cords that go up over the rafters and down to what last year was just a power bar. But this year is a couple of real switches, and they have a pre-race light bulb and a starting light, and it's very fancy.
Slick stuff.
Very fancy. So Lauren Nielson yells go, and then he flicks the switch, and the power connects, and the sanders go zoom right down the track. And the first sander to reach the end and bash into a big pillow wins. You don't want to wreck the sander. You got to stop it in the
you want to put it back in your toolbox or wherever those things go.
Absolutely.
Now, are there teams or categories in this race?
Well, not teams. This is an individual thing, although people have pit crews, of course. There are two categories. There's 24 were entered in the stock category, where you do nothing to the motor, but you might decorate up the belt sander.
Yes.
And then there were 8 entered in the modified category, and that's when you can soup up the motor to your heart's content.
So like Bigfoot.
Actually, there was one, I think, last year called Bigfoot. Anyway, the cocky Phil Lipton and his dad Brian are fine cabinet makers from Tawasin, and last year's story was that Phil teamed up with the 2 technicians from Makita. That's a belt sander manufacturer, and they helped him soup up his sander, and they won, the 3 of them. Now, other entrants thought this was a bit much, bringing in the pros. Well, those 2 guys from Makita had their own entries this year, and Phil was driving a Bosch. That's a sponsored Bosch. He got this belt sander given to him for this race. Things are getting a little serious. Now, here's the cocky Phil Lipton at the beginning of the race on sandpaper.
Good 36 trips.
Why?
Choice of champions, definitely.
Choice of champions, I don't know. Then there's Ken Keaton. Now, he's known as Cheatin' Keaton because the first year he was the only person to think of souping up his sander. Now, of course, everybody does it. They think it's just great, and modified as a class of its own. Last year, he lost out to Lipton and the boys from Makita. His sander has a red Chevy stuck on top of it, and he calls it Duke of Earl.
Like an entire Chevy?
Yeah, a little model. Like a model car.
Baby
not an entire Chevy.
Okay, all right.
I don't think you're picturing this very well. We're talking about 1.5 feet long.
I'm having a hard time with this one, I have to admit, Mark.
You should come. It's hilarious. I mean, last year, every year, actually, he's raced against a truck on top of a belt sander, and that was John Myrtle's truck, and he called it Turtle Express. Myrtle the turtle.
Myrtle's turtle,
yeah. So Keaton brought him along a big hand-printed sign with him that said, Sunday Special Turtle Soup, signed the Duke. Makita, do the best you can. Keaton is a cool character. Have you heard that Phil Lipton is actually not going to run a Makita this year? He's got a Bosch?
I didn't know.
Yeah? So what are you doing this year differently?
We run the same car.
Same car?
Yeah.
Changed anything?
Very slightly.
But you came second last year.
Well, maybe we'll do better this year.
And now you got the Makita guys and Phil against you. They're separated.
Well, I got these guys against me, too, and they don't worry me none.
Oh, good. So you're feeling confident.
Yeah.
Now, all the racing is an elimination setup. It's a ladder, so there's lots and lots and lots of races. Now, here we are back to Phil Lipton after his very first race.
Oh, we're in the losers category now. I'm going to go kill myself.
Well, what happened?
I don't know. I guess I just don't have it. I'm a good woodworker, but when it comes to mechanics, I'm just terrible. Very disappointing.
It sort of died about 3/4 way down.
Well, it should have worked.
Yeah.
The theory was good. It's putting it into practice. Well, I'm not really sure exactly what the theory was, but whatever it was, it worked this morning.
These guys take this stuff very seriously.
Very seriously.
So tell me about some of the other entrants.
Okay, well, if you've just tuned in, we are talking about belt sanders. Now, there was one that was a foot high, paper-mache green crocodile wearing a Canucks jersey, holding a little hockey stick.
Cute.
It was all sort of melded to a Makita belt sander. They called it Croco Bure number 10. I got that right? Is that okay?
Pavel Bure, yes.
Crocodile Sport Bar in Tawasin was the sponsor. There were lots that were completely unadorned. Robert Simpson owns the Liberty Wine Store in Point Roberts. He had his sander in it, just a tasteful wooden wine box. He did actually quite well. There was a moose, there was a beaver, there was the queen. She was a classic. She was sitting on a little gold throne. She had little Union Jacks on staffs on either side of her crown. Actually, she was a decapitated Barbie doll with a spit and image queen head stuck on top, and her skirt was made out of a couple of purple Crown Royal bags.
These things actually go?
Oh, yeah, she's zipping down. It was great. Anyway, and then I chatted with this guy. This is a Sears Craftsman with a large bottle of booze on top. What is it?
Well, its title is self-explanatory. It's Great Expectations.
1992. No belt.
Vintage year. No belt is better.
No belt. It's beautiful. You did a great job. Do you work at a wine shop or something?
No, I'm a sculptor.
You're a sculptor. Do you live here in Point Roberts?
Yes, I do. About 4 months resident here.
And then the rest of the time in Canada?
No, I've only been here 4 months. I just moved in from Santa Fe.
Oh, I see. And so have you ever heard of anything like this before?
It's world famous. I heard about it in Santa Fe, and that's why I moved.
Get out of here.
Actually, my wife preceded me, and she sent me photos from last year's race, and I knew I had to be in it if I was here at all.
So they're bringing in ringers. So what did the crowd think of all this?
The crowd loved it. I mean, how can you not? It's the silliest thing you've ever seen in your entire life, these belt sanders going zipping down. And I said there's got to be at least 400 people there. Lots and lots of kids. It was a far bigger crowd than last year, and I wandered around and talked to some of them.
How long did...
What do you guys think of this? It's pretty cool. Pretty cool? Yeah. How cool? Really cool. Really cool? Yeah. So who do you think is going to be the all-time winner?
For modified, probably Keaton.
Yeah.
And for stock, I want Turtle Express.
I mean, this is a third one we've been to, but it's amazing how fast these sanders go. Every year they're getting fancier and fancier. The people are making up real decorated sanders as well as being fast and modified. They're fancy.
Are you timing all of these races?
Yes.
So how are they doing?
Good.
Like what kind of time?
2.5 seconds.
Really? You think this is going to win? Oh, you better... You were right.
Yes, I was.
And how much? 2.54.
Yeah.
You can't turn your head.
No, 2.5 seconds. You better not blink.
You better not blink.
The action is fast and furious, so don't hold us in suspense. How did the professionals from Makita do?
They didn't win. Someone with a car called Rocky Roads, a complete unknown, won in the stock car category. And Cheatin' Keaton cleaned up with the Duke of Earl.
I won the stock, yes.
Stock, and what's the secret of your success?
Just speed.
How'd you get that kind of speed with a stock?
By the correct machine.
What kind of machine?
Quarter cable.
Oh, there weren't a lot of quarter
I was
cable.
the only one in the race.
Really? And then put a nice orange Chevrolet on top?
You bet I did.
Yeah.
Made it streamlined.
And Regal Auctions, is that your
Regal
company?
Auctions, I'm from Calgary, Alberta.
No.
I am.
What are you doing out here?
I'm visiting my brother-in-law, and he's the champion of the modified.
No.
You betcha.
You're related to the Keatons?
Yes?
Go on.
My wife and his sister are our brother and sister.
Unbelievable. So this is like a family thing?
You betcha. He lives in Point Roberts.
This is your brother-in-law here.
That's my brother-in-law.
This is amazing. So the whole family's cleaned up.
Well, he took first in stock, and
you took
we
first in
took the modified back
So
again.
you must feel like extra proud since you beat out those kids from Makita.
Well, we brought the trophy back to where it belongs, didn't we?
Yeah, to Point Roberts.
Yeah, right.
From Tawasin. That's right. So did you do anything different this year?
We just got it on the ground where it needed to be.
Where was it last year? On the air?
Well,
They even got belt sander stock cliches.
Yeah, exactly.
This is amazing. So I want to know, should I buy a belt sander based on this performance? I mean, is there anything we can learn from this nonsense?
You should absolutely not buy a belt sander based on this performance. You do not buy belt sanders for speed. Last year, Makita and Sears won. This year it was Porter, Cable, and Black & Decker. But you can learn everything from going to something like this, like the belt sander drag race, about having a good time, and why serious silliness is needed once in a while. It was great fun.
Well, that's Marg Meikle reporting from Point Roberts, the belt sander capital of the world.
International.
Thank you, Marg.